Here's the thing. You need to focus because our attention is getting hijacked. I realized something recently that even with the so much time that we have to write or to do the work, the end product is always subpar most of the time, at least in my case. I remember opening my phone 2 to 3 times, scrolling for minutes, and then if you really think about it, hundreds of information enter our brain, and we expect to go right back into our work. How are we going to really do well? And it's crazy when you think about it, but many of us do this when waking up, when going to sleep, even while driving. And it's crazy how this is normalized, and I'm a victim as well. And inshallah, I intend to change. And I think you should too. One thing I realized is that this enjoyable book I read was called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And the most important thing that stuck with me is how powerful our thoughts are. If you really think about it, many of us focus on how can I improve my habits? How can I become this person, this amount of money, this fit? And we never thought about that what we visualize dictates our behavior. What we say, whether good or bad, we end up believing. And what we ask, our brain ends up answering. So overall, our thoughts is the core, which dictates our habits, which form our consequences. So what if our thoughts are scattered, our attention hijacked every 10 minutes? And that's to say the least. Our minds are all over the place and we expect them to dial back into a single task. And then we get frustrated, and as expected, it only gets worse. And then that point was very interesting. And I remember listening to another podcast, I think it was Andrew Huberman. And it was very interesting because he talked about the science about this research from Dr. Sophie Roy. He was talking about attention residue. Long story short, when you switch task from task A to task B, there is a residue of attention that lingers in your mind related to task A. And that's just going to hurt your performance on task B. So multitasking, as you should know, is not really efficient. And you shouldn't be on your phone while driving, but many of us don't listen to that. And if you really pause, and this is something we should do, inshallah, all the time in life, that when we just pause, take a breath, and then zoom out, look at things at a bigger picture, like in a way, watch yourself as you're watching a movie. You should ask yourself, how do you expect yourself to focus when you're pausing or pausing frequently to help others or scroll on the phone? That we're human beings and not machines, and I feel like our expectations tend to hurt us, especially when we fall into comparison traps on social media or people around us, that they're living a life that we all want, and then you want to burn yourself out doing hard work, or you just end up giving up. Inshallah, you shouldn't do either. You just need to understand we cannot do everything at once. And overall, my point of all of this, our intention is your compass. When you set a clear intention before doing something, your brain understands what matters and what doesn't. It filters all the noise and helps you dial in to what's most important. Everything else is not important, at least at that moment. This may be corny, but the way I see this is that it's similar to a lighthouse on a stormy sea, guiding ships to safety. It serves as a beacon, keeping you on course despite all the distractions. And even a more relatable example, when we focus on our salah and our prayers, what do? We focus on one point, and any thoughts that's scattering in our brain, we're just throwing that aside, at least to our best, to focus on our salah and being present with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the same with every single task. Focus on one problem, one goal, one solution at a time, and just dial in at that point. A goal, I would say, I rambled a lot, so if you want to take away any of this, just set clear intentions before starting your task to filter out distractions and enhance focus. And each day, I remember, how do I explain this? Overall, many people do this, especially entrepreneurs. They set out each day, and then inshallah, even the night before, you set out 3 to 5 goals. Those are your signals. Everything else is noise. Because I feel like many of us underestimate our truest potential, and inshallah, we all realize that we're much better than we are currently, because we either put too many goals or put too little goals to really push yourself forward. Long story short, set your goals the morning of, or even better after Maghrib, because in Islam that's a new day. Set 3 to 5 goals. If you have more than 3 to 5 quote unquote priorities, you really don't have any. You just want to do all these little things. And I'm sorry to be rude about that. Set 3 to 5 goals. Everything else is noise. Everything else are lesser goals, which should be eliminated if you really want to be efficient. And if you really want to do those lesser goals, you better knock out all 5 of those goals before even considering it. Most of the time, you might not get it. So that should be your only takeaway out of this, because I know I talked a lot. So set your goals, set your attention, make dua. Everything else will be handled, inshallah. See you.